Strange and bizarre facts about history's leaders. French revolutionary soldier Jean Bernadotte had "Death to Kings" tattooed on his chest. He later went on to become King of Sweden and Norway. Charles VI of France suffered from such debilitating mental illness that he forgot his own name, his children, his wife, and his identity as king. He periodically believed that he was made of glass and tried to prevent himself from breaking. King Alexander of Yugoslavia refused to do public events on Tuesdays because 3 members of his family had died on Tuesdays. When he finally did begin a state visit on a Tuesday, he was assassinated.
What if you spent 1 week in ancient Greece? Day 1. You arrive in Athens wearing your Nike sneakers. Ironic, since Nike is literally their goddess of victory. You try to buy a gyro. There are no gyros. That's a modern invention. You're handed a chunk of bread and some olives. Welcome to your new diet. Day 2. You need to use the bathroom. There's a communal toilet. It's a marble bench with holes. No stalls, no privacy. Just you, 12 strangers, and a stick with a sponge on it that everyone shares. You hold it in. Day 3. You attend a philosophical debate. Socrates asks you, "What is the meaning of justice?" You say, "I don't know, bro." He spends the next 4 hours proving you wrong. Your brain hurts. Day 4. The Olympics are happening. You get excited until you realize all athletes compete completely naked. You suddenly understand why they're so obsessed with olive oil. Day 5. You try to impress someone by quoting Plato. They look confused. Plato is still alive. He's standing right behind you. He heard everything. He's not impressed. Day 7. You've survived on bread, wine, and existential dread. You smell like olive oil and regret. You finally understand why they invented democracy, because suffering alone is worse than suffering together.
Weird facts about history. Napoleon's wife had a friend who was known as government property because she had banged so many ministers of state. Machiavelli wrote a letter to his friend about how he slept with a prostitute, then threw up all over her when the lights came on because she was so ugly. Julie d'Aubigny was a famous 17th century French opera singer who once took the holy vows to enter a convent just so she could sleep with a nun. She also had a habit of seducing women at parties which would lead their husbands to challenge her to a duel. She was an expert duelist and killed a few men like this. Victor Hugo, the romantic writer, slept with so many prostitutes that on the day he died, all the brothels in Paris were closed because so many of the prostitutes took the day off to mourn him.
Strange and bizarre facts about history. When Columbus first sailed to America, his ship's captain spotted land first, but Columbus later claimed he had already seen it a few hours earlier, thereby claiming for himself the lifetime pension that had been promised by King Ferdinand to the first person to sight land. The word Sir Lion is derived from an occasion when King James I of England, while being entertained at Hoghton Tower during his return from Scotland in 1617, was so impressed by the quality of his steak that he knighted the loin of beef, which was referred to thereafter as sirloin. Strange and bizarre facts about history. Stubbins Firth, a medical trainee in the early 19th century, tried to prove that yellow fever wasn't contagious. He deliberately exposed himself to the blood, urine, sweat, and vomit of patients afflicted with the disease, even going as far as drinking their vomit. Despite his risky experiment, he remained unaffected by yellow fever because it is transmitted by mosquito bites. Shi Pei Pu was a Chinese opera singer and a spy who obtained secrets from a French embassy worker for 20 years by masquerading as a woman during their affair. He even took a child and pretended it was theirs.
We hear about all these ancient civilizations, but when did each one happen? How do they fit together in the broader story of human history? Well, here's the whole story in a 2-minute video. First up is the Stone Age, which lasted for 2.5 million years. Modern humans hadn't taken over the planet yet, but they were leaving Africa, met some Neanderthals along the way, but then ran into the Ice Age, which kind of sucked. Nice thing about everything being frozen though is that this created a little land bridge that let people cross into the Americas. This whole time period is called prehistory because writing hadn't been invented yet, so it's hard to know exactly what happened. But that would all change right around 3000 BC or BCE. Civilization became a thing. Why was this a big deal? Well, for the first time ever, we got so efficient at growing food that we didn't need everyone to be a farmer. Some people could make advanced tools instead, which helped you grow more food, which let people do more non-farmer stuff. This spiral of wealth was insane and led to things like cities, math, the wheel, irrigation, writing, and government. People were so advanced that instead of picking up rocks and calling them tools, they invented metal, bronze to be exact, so people call this the Bronze Age. This was mostly happening in Mesopotamia, Egypt, Egypt, China, the Indus Valley, and Greece. Egypt somehow built the pyramids this early in human history, which is why we have so many conspiracy theories about them. Tragically, around 1200 BCE, many of these Mediterranean Bronze Age civilizations kind of just got wiped off the map. We still don't really know how it happened, but history basically went silent in this region for 400 years. During this time though, people started using iron and not bronze, so we call it the Iron Age. Contrary to what RuneScape has taught us, iron actually wasn't stronger than bronze at first, but it was way more convenient to make. This was a big deal because you could make way more of it, and instead of arming just a few people, you could arm everyone. And you could start putting it on a bunch more tools like plows and chisels and make every tool in society metallized. Right around 600 BCE, ancient Greece and ancient Rome really began to flourish. So when you hear historians mention things like antiquity or the classical period, they're referring to this period. Though this is obviously a very Western-centric view because binding these specific years together to create a historical time period is sort of arbitrary for non-Western civilizations. Most of the ancient Greek philosophers you hear about like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle all lived in this time, as well as Greek rulers like Alexander the Great. The Bible and Hindu and Buddhist scriptures were all written during this time. Most of the things that you associate with ancient China like Confucianism, papermaking, and the Silk Road happened here, especially during the Han Dynasty, and most Chinese people even today are called Han Chinese. The Persian Empire, Roman Empire, Carthage, Kingdom of Kush, and Mauryan Empire all happened here. And the Golden Age for both India and the Mayans happened around the end of this time period. This time period of classical antiquity would end when the Western Roman Empire collapsed and Europe would enter its Dark Ages. This happened in 476 AD or 476 CE. And by the way, when you hear these two years, they mean the same thing. Historians started using CE because it's more neutral and doesn't center around Jesus Christ. So basically, prehistory was a Stone Age before writing was a thing. All of ancient history includes the Bronze Age, Iron Age, and classical antiquity. After ancient history was the Middle Ages, from this point up until the 1500s when the Americas were discovered and the Renaissance started, and everything after the 1500s is called modern history. The Middle Ages and modern history will have to be for another video, but hopefully this quick video gave you a good overview on ancient history.
What if a child from 2025 woke up in ancient Greece? Day 1. You're 10 years old in Athens. No Wi-Fi, no iPad, no mom. Just dust and men in togas arguing about democracy. You ask where the McDonald's is. They hand you figs and olives. You'd rather starve. Day 2. Breakfast is bread, cheese, and watered down wine. Everyone drinks wine here, even kids. You take a sip and make a face. A Greek kid next to you is on his second cup. He's 6. Day 3. You try to explain school. You sit in a room for 6 hours and someone talks at you. Greek kids ask what you learn. You say math. They're building temples using geometry that architects still study today. Day 4. You draw a Roblox character in the dirt. A priest sees it and thinks it's a new god. By sunset, there's a small offering dedicated to a blocky figure. Greeks have gods for everything. One more doesn't hurt. Day 5. Socrates walks up. You're playing tic-tac-toe in the sand by yourself. He watches.
What is the purpose of this game?
To win.
Can you play alone?
Yes.
Then who are you defeating?
You stare at him. He stares back. First person in 2,500 years to out-annoy a 10-year-old. Month 1. You don't belong here, but for the first time in your life, nobody's telling you to get off the iPad.
Black Beatles in the city, be back immediate.
I wish more people realized how truly post-apocalyptic life was immediately following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Like, just take the Roman establishments in Britain, for example. They had running water, lawyers, accountants, aqueducts, masonry, all that. And all of it was gone when the collapse happened. Like, the concrete and the plumbing broke down and nobody knew how to fix it. Most people had to evacuate large cities because they straight up weren't safe anymore. The ones that stayed built mud huts inside of old stadiums and amphitheaters just to use them as forts, to stave off like barbarians and looters. The Romans obviously used currency, they used coins. It took hundreds of years, centuries, for the economy to recover to the point that they needed currency again. bartering and trading took its place for so long afterwards. There's obviously a decline in arts because once the emphasis is back on surviving and not starving, you don't really need to care about how buildings look, especially when you're just using abandoned Roman ones. So it really depends on what you define as post-apocalyptic. I would say that this is pretty close, but your mileage may vary.
What if you spent 1 week as a World War I soldier? Day 1, you arrive at the Western Front. The smell hits first. Rotting flesh, gas, excrement. Your trench, 6 feet deep. Walls are mud and sandbags. Floor is liquid. You sink to your knees. Rats everywhere. Size of cats. They ate the corpses. Now they're looking at you. Day 2, 5 a.m. Everyone on firing step. Dawn attack expected. Nothing happens. You stand for 2 hours. Rifle ready. Then breakfast. Bully beef from a tin. Tastes like rust. Hard biscuits. Rock solid. Tea. Tastes like the corpse water it was boiled in. Day 3, the lice, they're everywhere. In your uniform, your hair, your groin. You can't stop scratching. Blood under your nails. The itch never stops. Everyone has them. Trench fever starts. Headache, bone pain, can't stop shaking. Day 4, the shelling starts. 4 a.m. You can't hear, can't think. Earth shaking. Walls collapsing. Buried alive. Digging, screaming. Goes on for 6 hours. Your friend standing right next to you. Direct hit, he's just gone. You're covered in dirt and blood. The ringing won't stop. Day 5, your feet. You haven't removed your boots in 5 days. Your feet are white, swollen, skin peeling off in sheets, trench foot, the smell, rotting flesh, your own feet. Medic says it might be gangrene, might lose the foot, no morphine left. Day 6, gas attack, alarm, scramble for your mask, fumbling, you breathe it, chlorine, your lungs burning, can't breathe, coughing blood, blinded, medics pulling you back, field hospital, lungs filling with fluid. You're one of the lucky ones, you might survive. Day 7, over the top, whistle blows, 6 a.m., 400 yards of mud and wire and bodies. Machine guns open up immediately, men dropping, you're running, barbed wire catches you, rips you open, you're stuck, screaming. Germans 50 yards ahead. Suddenly you're teleported back. Shell shock, can't sleep, nightmares. It was industrial slaughter, 20 million dead. Most never saw the enemy.